Hey folks, it's Keith Victor Echo 3 Sierra Victor Quebec, otherwise known as the Shaky Key. And I'm here today with a little different video to some of the ones I do. I want to look today at portable keys that you can take to a park. Now we're into the middle of April, and at this point, even up here in the Great White North, things are melting, grass is starting to come, and of course your mind turns to doing poda, or in some cases soda for some people. So I wanted to look at what type of keys are out there. What would I look at for myself and what makes sense to me? Because again, being a senior, I don't want to throw a lot of money at something if I'm not going to like it. And that's always one of the considerations when you do this. I mean, ham radio can be an expensive hobby. So when you get a little gray up here, you watch your budget. So that was one of the aspects of this. What's out there? What's the value of them? How are they to use? Which one would I choose to take with me to a park? Now, in my case, I also operate in a park quite often out of my car. So what would work there? What works sitting on my knee on maybe a clipboard, that type of thing? I mean, pretty well anything will work if you're sitting at a picnic bench. So that were some of the different things I looked at. And really, I thought in this case, I would do a comparison of two keys, one made by Cwmorse and the other the Putikeeg, which you can find on Amazon, or at least you could. So looking at those were issues. And then I also wanted to look at, if you're starting to relearn Morse code, because I do teach Morse code with one of the clubs. So if you're thinking about relearning Morse code, you don't want to go out and spend a lot of money on a really fancy key. So that's another issue. If you're a student, maybe you've never taken Morse code. Are either of these keys worth getting? Because they're not that expensive, especially if you're in the States. They're not that expensive. So, it may be an option. So that's what we're going to look at. Something simple. Quick review, give you my opinion, what I think about them. I compare everything to the key that I presently use. So this is my key right now. Let me just hold it up here. That's my key now. So some of you might recognize it. That's a Nye Viking. Now I got that key back in 1990. It's heavy as a brick. Doesn't move. You can really adjust it quite well. Really fine tune that one. I love that key. I don't need to get another one for home here, for the shack. I don't need another one for that. And that one's more than good enough. I'm not a paddle person, so anyone who knows me knows, don't want one, have one, never used it. Really don't want to. I'm a straight key person, so that's the way I look at life and I look at Morse code. So let's get into a little bit of a comparison between the two. And I'll put up some pictures so you can see as well, and probably just do a voiceover. We'll make it really simple here. Doesn't have to be a complex one. And again, follow along. Please like, share, comment down below. Everyone seems to have opinions on Morse code keys, so nothing wrong with that. We'll be right back with a couple of photos. All right, if we look at the picture here, we have both keys sort of end to end. The Cwmorse key is the black one on the left, has a navy knob, obviously longer than the other Putikeeg on the other side. Both can be adjusted. If you look at it, you can see the adjustment points to fine tune the gap and the tension and so on. The Cwmorse on the left has the binding posts, whereas the Putikeeg on the right has a slot, if you want, or a plug for the 3.5 millimeter plug. Now, shape of the knob is different on these two, but again, that's a lot of personal preference. I happen to like the style on the left and had the option of picking up that style, so that's what I ended up getting, at least in this case. So this is a slightly different view of them, looking down at them. You can see the difference in the length and the width of them. And also for me, something that I paid attention to, might not be as important to you. The size of the knob. I like the size of the knob a little bit more on the Cwmorse, although I have to say the one of the Putikeeg is very, very easy to use. It's not a problem at all when you're doing it. And again, looking down, you can see the adjustment points as well, or adjustment screws if you want, where you can fine tune them. And again, just a couple of photos to give you an idea what they look like from different angles. If you've never seen these, but just heard about them, again, like I said, just something to look at. You can look at the shape of them. Some of us have preferences for different shapes, different sizes. You make up your mind looking at them what you think about these particular keys. So the first one up is the Cwmorse. In this case, it's the Camelback with the navy knob. So what are we looking at? Well, 1.5 inches wide, 4.25 inches long. So it's a decent size key when you're looking at it. Price in the US, according to what I could calculate today, roughly $50 in the United States. Now I'm up in Canada, so nothing ever comes that easy. So they're about $70 Canadian up here. So it's a $20 difference. And of course, the other big difference, which you never know until you calculate where you live, what would the shipping costs be as well. However, I did see that if your order is $100 or more, Cwmorse would provide free shipping. So that's something if you're up in Canada, you'll want to think about. Now, the next key up, of course, is the Putikeeg. And if you look at that key right there, it's got a bit of heft to it. That's, there's some weight behind that little key. So that's always a good factor. It's fairly rugged when you look at it as well. There's nothing dainty about it. It does work well, though, and especially if you're going out into the bush or you're hiking somewhere. It's one that it's going to be pretty solid and probably come through any little banging around. Now that one was $68 Canadian, ordered from Amazon just a few days ago. Now, of course, Amazon Prime, if you have that, it's free shipping. I didn't calculate it without the shipping because I have the Amazon Prime. But $68 Canadian, about $46 on Amazon in the United States. Now, the interesting thing for the Canadian side is as of this date, and right now we're looking at April the 10th, 2025, Amazon Canada has marked that now as unavailable here. No known, restart date. So 1.25 inches wide, 3 inches long. So there's a big difference there in size between the two. And again, this one, as mentioned previously, will have the stereo plug as well, which is a 3.5. So you can very easily upgrade if you want to, just get the little adapter and turn it into a 1/4 inch stereo. Now, for me, one of the most important things is how does it feel? Do I like the feel? Can I tolerate the feel of a smaller key? It's not something I'm used to, not with this big brick that I have here. But how does it feel? Well, this is the way I look at these. All right, so that's on that key. So what I want right now is these other two keys to be as close to that feel as possible. Doesn't necessarily mean the Morse code I send is any good, but I want the key to feel right for me, as will you when you get it. Now it does have on the base, it's a fairly solid base. It does have the no skid pads, which really makes a difference as well. And I did find when I'm using it, it doesn't move very much on that desk. It's pretty hard to move. It's heavier, and with the grips from those pads actually isn't too bad. Now my thing here, I'm still adjusting them. I'm still playing with them, but that's my Morse code from that one. Again, just my call sign. But it feels good. I have to say it does have a good feel to it. I've just played with it a little bit, not all that much. But yeah, definitely that's one I could use in a park. I could certainly use that probably on a clipboard on my knee as well. So that one
From that viewpoint, that would be a yes for me on that particular key. All right, so with this little Putikeeg, as you can see, also has the pads on there. No slip or no skid pads. It is a 3.5 millimeter plug, so I did have to add the adapter for my ICOM. So there's a little extra expense, a few dollars, not much. Or may even have one lying around in a box somewhere. But I have to say, it's a solid key. Needs adjusting. I need practice, but it needs adjusting. But yes, it's a solid key. You can use that key quite comfortably. I find the knob, because I'm not used to that shape, for me is a little bit more awkward, but it's a very solid key. And again, for the size, there's a lot of weight to this. So again, it's a good choice. So then it boils down really to what you like, not like. So it boils down to what you like, what you don't like, and which key will serve better for whatever purpose you want to use it. What type of activations, if you're going to do it out in the field, POTA, SOTA, whatever. If you're going to use it on your desk, it will work fine. Either of these keys on your desk will work quite well for you.
And the other issue for me, as I mentioned briefly before, how is it plugged in? So here you go. Standard plug, right? 3.5, no problems. Nice solid connection, solid wire. Cwmorse, and this is my biggest issue really, just the thin wires, right? So 2 thin wires, that's it. If this had had a plug such as the other one, it would win hands down. But this is my biggest concern with this one. These wires here are very, very thin, and I always consider that if I'm out in the field, what's going to happen. Things happen when you're in the field, when you're doing an activation. So my biggest fear would be I get out there and something happens and one of those wires snaps. So that's an issue. Okay, so I can go buy another attachment, another plug, different gauge wires and so on, and hook it up. But that's an expense that you really shouldn't need to go to. So that's the major difference for me between the two. And like I say, if you look at them, the feel of them, if you're buying your very first key, I would suggest you go with the Cwmorse. I think it's easier to fine tune it and adjust it as you go along and as you progress, learning how to send and so on. I think that's the easier key to use. It's also got, for me anyways, more of the feel of my larger key. And it'll do you just fine if you're learning. If you're on a POTA activation and it's relatively stable, it's a good key to use as well. I wouldn't necessarily want to backpack that one in all the time. Again, like I say, I worry more about the wires than anything. As far as doing, say, a SOTA or a POTA where you might be camping or in the middle of nowhere, I think that Putikeeg is a darn good choice for that one as well. I don't think it's quite as good a choice for someone who's just learning. I find it a much clunkier key. And again, that could be partially myself as well. Still have to play with the adjustments on all of them. I do find the adjustments, though, on the Cwmorse can be much finer than they are on the other one. So there you go. Personal opinion only. So if I had to pick between the two, I would give it a little bit more to the Cwmorse key, but I don't think you can go wrong with either one of them. My opinion. You're welcome to yours as well. Everyone has one when it comes to Morse code keys and Morse code in general. It's Keith, Victor Echo 3, Sierra Victor Quebec, otherwise known as the Shaky Key. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please make a comment, like, share, subscribe, and so on. YouTube loves when you do that. 73.